Hi, it's Tamika Chambers, and I am back with Create a Generational Love Cycle, something that I developed as a result of thinking about breaking the cycle of pain, thinking about that topic, breaking the cycle of pain, and how you don't focus on the actual problem or issue, you focus on the solution. And I remember hearing that about Mother Teresa. It wasn't about stopping war, but more focused on peace. And so I when I think about create a generational love cycle, I think about changing the thoughts that created the cycle of pain, getting to the roots of our actions. And as you know, our beliefs are at the foundation of how we behave, how we act. What's in our core, what's in our ground that is growing up. When I talk about creating generational love cycle, I often think about the a garden, our internal garden, our hearts and our minds. And I believe that's where the truth lies in us is within our hearts and our minds. And what happens over time. And it's the thought that came to me when I was living in Oregon back in 2020 or 2021. And I was asking, I asked the universe a question, and it said it was something that I picked up along the way. And I was just reading or listening to another video by Valley, and he was talking about one of the energy teachers, and that was one of the things he mentioned was um, that we pick up things along the way. We come here to Earth, we're excited, we're happy, we're babies, we're in these stages that developmental, psychological developmental personnel have said, Erickson and Freud, and we're in this just filling everything out and touching and just really trying to understand this place that we are at. And we look to our elders, we look to our parents, we look to our uncles and aunts and teachers and all these people to help guide us, if you will, to um, being in this place, being on this earth, and hoping, even if we don't say it, that they will bring out the best in us, that they will show us how to live right, how to benefit from this place, how to, be the best that we can be, as Maslow says, self-actualization. And unfortunately, many of us have run into situations where we were part of something that we developed shame for. And shame, when I was looking at the definition, actually, before I started here, shame is a painful emotion caused by consciousness of guilt, shortcoming, or something we feel that we've done wrong. And we can either internalize, like bring that shame upon us by constantly thinking about something and how we're comparing ourselves, and they didn't do it but I did it, how bad am I and what's wrong with me. Or we can have others that are saying that, and it could be anyone. It could be the people that are involved, it could be our parents, it could be our classmates, our peers, our friends. You should be ashamed of yourself and what you did. you know and as I've been talking about these emotions, I started out with jealousy. I started out with talking about how, we can be jealous of others. And, and one simple thing that I think can help take care of the jealousy is that we're all on different paths. You can definitely listen more to that and my thoughts about that. And then last week I talked about anger, and how we can it's such a strong emotion. And I mentioned just a few people that their thoughts regarding anger and how we can really nip that, as my mom would say, nip it in the bud. Nip it in the bud is that we stop something so that it doesn't grow too large. My son was talking about yesterday when we were recording how problems can appear like very small rocks or a very small little ball of snow, but it becomes bigger and bigger the more we deny it, the more we don't face it. And that's the same way with our emotions. And when I think about this internal garden, is that they can grow. They continue to grow because they're stealing the nutrients of our soil. They're stealing those, I believe, those spiritual fruits that the Bible talks about, kindness and joy. It's robbing those nutrients that are natural to us. We don't have to go and look for joy. We don't have to look how to be kind to someone. We don't have to look how to love someone, because within us is that programming, because I believe we are made of love. What to bring life to humans, to design the heart and the lungs and the digestive system and all of that to run without us consciously every day saying, okay, I'm going to chew this food. So stomach, start producing acid, small intestines, large intestines, let's get on board. Or tell our lungs, okay, it's time to breathe now. I got to breathe 12. We don't have to spend all day doing that. We can enjoy our lives. We can, you know, um, cultivate our gifts and our talents that are also too a natural part of us. But as I say, we have these seeds, if you will, are these weeds that come into us, into our fertile ground. And often that's in childhood. Often how we cope as adults is how we learned to cope as a child. Whether we were often told that you should be ashamed of yourself. So when we do something and we don't feel good about ourselves, even though if we don't say it verbally, there's still that unconscious programming that I should be ashamed of myself. We see our actions, we see the overeating, we see the over exercise, we see the name calling, the projection of pain through bullying, through pushing, pulling, killing, adultery. We see all those other ways that we're trying to cope to make us feel better, instead of really going on the inside and say, okay, what is it? What is this root, this weed that is in me that is robbing me of my natural ability to be joyful, to be happy, to not feel shameful, to forgive myself, right? And then speaking of my experience with pain, and often something that happens when you think about sexual abuse or childhood sexual abuse, you do think of that word shame. How could you allow that to happen? And my apologies. I know I'm saying it's kind of late, but I wanted to say, and I will say it, have a note in it, that this may be some sensitive content. But for me, the way that I healed from the inside out of that experience is that I knew I had to address my emotions. And I have to thank my father for that, because the first experience with pain that I had was with him. And I knew then by going inside that he wasn't ready to admit his pain. And I said, I don't want to be like that. And it was from my emotions and how I felt that day that I didn't feel supported in speaking my truth, that I want my children, I want whoever to feel supported in speaking their truth. Therefore, I need to address my emotions and my feelings. I need to be present with how I'm feeling. And it's so easy to pick up something external to drown out those feelings, because they can bring about more pain, more thoughts of what you did. And another principle that really helped me was to become a student of my life, is that there are so many things that are going to happen, and I am here to learn and to grow. I can't take back. And my mother would tell us, live another day. Whatever you did, just live another day, because that day could be better, but you don't know. You don't know if you're not here. And so, being a student of my life and hearing my mother's life principles really helped me to say, okay, I just got to move forward. And she said that. She said, move forward with your life. After you accept the truth, that's when you can move forward. And that it's not saying that it's not okay to feel a certain way, But it's it's that you don't have to continue to feel that way. You don't have to continue to be shameful. You don't have to continue to be angry or jealous. And speaking about shame, that we learn. And I know it's like, well, if I'm connected to this infinite intelligence, why didn't I know to do better? And this journey is about evolving. There are some things we are going to know, and we're going to know when we need to know. And there are some things we need to find out because I believe it is how we influence the world. It is through our experiences, our learn what we learn. Because if we didn't have anything to learn, we wouldn't be here in the first place, right? We wouldn't be going through this earthly journey, this evolving in the first place, this opportunity to express the divine within us in the first place. If we knew everything, what would that do for us? Right? We go through and we know what to we just we wouldn't learn, and we wouldn't have that positive effect on others that are going through what we were able to transcend. And so, knowing too that no experience defines you, that no matter what it is that you've been through, that you cannot be defined. You are greater than your experience. You are a microcosm of this macrocosmic spirit, infinite intelligence here on earth. That we can't take back what happened, but we can use it for good. That we can turn every experience that maybe was meant for evil into good. And when I think about evil and I think about what people do, I think about a lack of consciousness. Because if we were truly spiritually aware, then we would know that we would know how to act, right? We would know that we don't project our pain on others. We would know that we don't rob, we don't kill, we don't destroy, we don't take from others. So it's a lack of spiritual awareness. And I believe that if we allow it, pain can be our greatest teacher and greatest motivator and enabler for spiritual awareness, for really seeking the divine within us, seeking truth and becoming that, and also to spreading that truth to others, giving hope where there is no hope, giving love where they've experienced hatred, divisiveness, and pain, helping them to see that their life has mission, their life, they have a mission, they have purpose for being here, and opening a door for their gifts and their talents, their specific, unique way of demonstrating this infinite intelligence on earth. So I believe that with all emotions that I'm going to speak about, is that they are data. They are data to let us know how far we have traveled from our truth, that we have traveled some way from our truth, that we have allowed things to come into our inner garden, and that we need to clean, we need to assess, we need to clean up that inner garden, we need to clean our energy because we tend to take on stuff that doesn't belong to us. We tend to become stuff that is not true to us. And in order to maintain our truth, we have to set those healthy boundaries and around us, and know who we are. Know that we are spirit clothed in human form, a specific human form from our head to our toe that is for our journey, that is for us to express who we are, that no experience defines us. And I have this unique ability. I have this beautiful power inside of me to express who I truly am if I don't allow these experiences to define me, to label me. So no matter who it is that says you should feel this way, who are them? Who are they? Who are they to say that? More than likely somebody else who's in pain, right? Because unfortunately, we have people that don't know how to heal from their pain. And often, people that hurt others because they want to be understood, they want to feel valued, but we can show them a different way. Because the more we remove those weeds, the more our bountiful spiritual harvest will come about, will present itself. And I believe in this truth. I believe that we were not put here on earth to struggle emotionally, mental health conditions, depression, postpartum stress, and all these labels that we tack on. Okay, I'm part of the medical community. I have my BSN and MSN, so I'm a trained healthcare professional. I understand that we want to categorize things, we want to understand things, but do we have to understand it by putting labels on it? Because often people act out those labels. So if you have taken on the label of shame, whether it was done by you or someone else, I need you to dig deep and sit with yourself and say, where have I picked this up at? Because it's naturally not a part of me, and I need to remove it, so that I can experience that spiritual fruit that is within me, that will give me life, that is so life-giving and not life-draining. Can you imagine these weeds that rob? It was a day that I seen that, and I saw the weed just circled around the plant, and I said, wow, it's robbing that plant of its nutrients. It's trying to destroy it. But you can use that data to assess where you are in your life, to assess what it is that is causing me to do certain things, to overeat, undereat, to yell, to complain, to not be in the right career, right frame of work, to drink a lot. All these other things that are happening, they have a reason. They're happening for a reason. And there's something within us that continues to drive us in that direction, that continues to attract us to that. You don't have to be shameful because we don't need more shameful events. If anything, we need to express our true selves. This is Tamika Chambers with Create a Generational Love Cycle. Hey, I have just started launch. I relaunched my newsletter, Notes on Life, sharing empowering messages to help you become yourself, to help you be more of who you are and not anyone else, but your true divine self here on earth. You can also catch me on many social media platforms. Um, LinkedIn, Instagram, and I also too have a Fulfill Your Divine Purpose where we can really just support one another in living our best lives in the best possible health possible. Because again, you don't have to be a statistic. You don't have to live just to have diseases, but that we can transcend many of these diseases by changing our thoughts, by changing how we feel about ourselves, by changing our thoughts about life and our purpose, finding our purpose, and really honing those gifts so that we can be our true selves. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care of yourself. Make this a fantastic week. As you know, tomorrow, or Thursday, I'll be talking about just really throwing away stuff and getting rid of it, including the things that the thoughts that do not belong to us. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care of yourself.